All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Today presenting, we have Mr. Richard Stout.
Hello.
Who heads up our technical services. You might have seen him in a webinar or two.
Yeah.
And me.
Allow myself to introduce
myself. All right. Very excited today to talk about RPI's on-demand managed services offering. I think one important thing before we get into it is that it's very reflective of, our history,
yes.
Right? So maybe we need to reminisce a little bit about how we became who we are, right?
Yeah.
10 years ago, we were a dozen consultants out there fighting the good fight, trying to get work and do a good job. And it forms sort of the principles that we work around for everything we do, but especially then as we approach managed services.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we talk about a lot is this seek to form long-term strategic partnerships. And I'm sure that gets lost as, marketing noise a lot, but it's a fundamental aspect of who we are, right? As a small consulting company in the early 2000s, we didn't have the benefit of being able to sort of burn through a project and moving on to the next customer. We needed to keep customers.
Yeah.
So that was the number one goal.
It wasn't easy. Being a small 10, 12 person company, going up against the much larger organizations out there. So we had to bring something a little different, bring something unique, bring a little extra value. And I think that's really been woven into the RPI DNA.
It has, right? And we've been able to keep that. And I think what that really means is you want to be invited back.
Yeah.
And that comes down to a couple things. One is you got to do good work. They don't invite you back if they're not happy. Right. And the second is, and I had a customer tell me this, I was very happy. He says, the great thing about RPI is you guys leave, right? It has to do with a philosophy around empowerment and knowledge transfer. So we're not trying to maximize an opportunity.
Right.
Even the whole upgrade cycle, we always looked at as opportunity to build a relationship, to deliver value. And I think that's an important fundamental thing of who we are and how we operate. The other thing that happened during those years is we fine-tuned this team-based approach. So when we approached projects, pretty much any sort, we did not do it based on FTE counts, 3 months, or try to have one person do a lot of things. We would look at the requirement, and we might have 4 or 5 people involved in doing that, lending niche expertise.
Yeah, we'll take a project and we'll break it down into an approach and spitball a project plan. Think about who are the right people to engage, and where do we need some special expertise? Where do we need some real niche expertise? And how can we bring that in?
I think upgrades are a great case in point where we might have 8 or 9 people involved in very specific things over a 6 to 9 month timeline. And, there's some challenges inherent in that. Requires very good internal communication, and requires a team that's used to working together. I think that's why, we're very W-2 centric. We have full-time employees that we can allocate. And
why we have this great Tampa office.
Great Tampa office broadcasting here today. And then the other thing that I think was really important is that we were all sort of in it together, band of brothers, and I feel that's another part of our DNA that we've been able to keep, that culture. We've hired towards that culture, and the people that have joined us that are happy to be here is because they feel part of the overall mission. They care about what we deliver. It's huge in our business.
Everyone cares about the success of our work and the success of our projects and what it means to be an RPI consultant.
So let's talk a second about managed services. And whenever I want to know about anything, I go to the good elves at Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is the source of all truth. So managed services, at least as we've traditionally come to see them in the Lawson space, are almost about outsourcing IT work. And we've seen them a lot be about keeping the lights on.
Low-level infrastructure.
In some cases, they get tied into hosting, companies doing hosting, and it's also sort of keeping the systems running and supporting application updates and product line copies and things of that nature.
Or I'm getting this error message, I need to open a ticket, and somebody needs to help me resolve this error.
Totally. So let's bring the two together then, right? So how does RPI come into the managed services space? Well, originally when we were 12 people, we did not offer managed services. Obviously, the logistics are very difficult when you're a small company. But we had a lot of customers that had managed services through a variety of companies. You know, nothing against them.
Our customers often source from multiple Infor partners, multiple service organizations. So we're really used to working with other players in the space and interacting with them to work together on projects. And we had a lot of experience working with, our customers use managed services. We need to interact with their managed services provider. Say if we're doing a custom development project and we needed code moved up to a server, or if we need a patch applied. So we sort of got that customer perspective.
But sometimes we sense a little bit of frustration on the customer side, right? Because when you're trying to make things happen, which is something I like to do, make things happen.
Right.
It's hard when you have roadblocks, that's not part of our scope, or something that's scheduled 2 weeks out that you didn't anticipate, and it sort of delays your overall momentum.
Yeah, the managed service offering wasn't always keyed in to getting our project done. They weren't always on board, and we weren't always even interacting with the same person each time.
Mm-hmm. Huge, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that was happening is we realized we were providing on-demand services for a lot of our customers. So, RPI's background is in process consulting, functional consultants, and we developed these long-term relationships with customers, and basically it was easy for them to call us up and say, hey, I got a new acquisition, I got to convert some assets, I need some supplemental support for it. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things that were going on there. We were familiar with the personnel, with their setup, configuration, and as part of our basic strategy, we're making ourselves very easy to work with, to engage for the small effort and be there when they needed us. So that's part of what formed our approach here.
They kept the door open for us. We kept in touch, and we held active VPN accounts, so we could quickly jump in and help somebody out. Sometimes the same day.
Sometimes the same day. The other thing that I think that it changed us up a little bit was the growth of our technical side of our practice, and here we actually see a group out of the Tampa office. I think it's a picture taken earlier this year. It's important as part of managed services to be able to do all that technical stuff, right?
Oh, it's an absolute requirement for sure, and that's something that our group has done really well with. A lot of the guys you see in this picture. They held a previous position as a loss and system administrator.
Maybe 100
at a
years
hospital.
of system administration experience on this picture.
Yeah, easily, and that's So, we definitely have a lot of experience in that role on the customer side. Helping out staff with getting their jobs done using Lawson, but also taking a look at patches and updates that are being released by Infor, deciding when is it important to look at, when maybe should we wait till the next round, taking a look at what's coming out and available, advising on what should be your direction over the next year or two. Another area of knowledge that we've really been able to leverage and build out for managed services is the proactive monitoring and maintenance, where each of these guys has brought their own tools and techniques for how they used to manage their servers and take time to automate, to look for common issues and see how we can set up some proactive systems to mitigate those problems and correct them. And for our managed services, we've been able to roll that into our system monitoring. So as part of our managed services offering, one thing that we can make available is a system monitoring package, which monitors all of the Lawson servers, and not just operating system statistics and database statistics, not just the standard stuff, but we've actually created Lawson specific checks, so we can take a look and make sure that Lawson at the application level is performing well, and we'll get notified sometimes before the customer even sees any symptoms.
Performance is a huge thing. My question is this how they dress down here at the Tampa office? Is this what they mean by Florida casual?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, you know it.
Yes.
Every time you visit, they look like this.
They do. All right, but having that covered, we wanted to take it a step further. We wanted to fight the tyranny of the break fix because
because there's no in RPI, right? That's just against everything we stand for. When a customer says, "Hey, I'm having a problem with this. Can you help me out?"
We want to help.
I don't want to have to pull out a scope document and figure out if the thing my customer is calling me about fits in my managed services agreement.
Yes.
That's not who I am.
Definitely. So the RPI approach is to basically make our entire consulting team an extension of our managed services customers' Lawson team.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I look at that we see is, man, it takes us 60 consultants today to be able to deliver everything across the Lawson space. Lawson is a complex system, and there's a lot of different development platforms and tools.
Over the last couple of years, the scale has really expanded. It used to be that you could run your whole Lawson system in one AIX box. I mean, now it's not uncommon to see 6 or 8 servers that make up an environment.
Per environment.
Yeah. So having, that's a lot more expertise than even a full-time Lawson system administrator. It's hard for one person to keep up with all that, not to mention some of the more niche functional knowledge that comes in really handy.
Yeah, and exactly, when you have a system administrator that has to keep up with all that, and then somebody comes over to the finance department and says, we want to implement P cards, we need you to understand how it works for Lawson. I mean, that's a big challenge, right? It's a lot for one person or a small team of people to do. I think one of the great examples of that is ACA. So when you look at RPI, we have the benefit of having multiple customers that we're repeating the same functions for.
Yes.
Right? That means we can have that payroll expert. It means we can have that supply chain expert. It means we can have that security expert that's probably seen some of that stuff before. ACA reporting requirements hit a lot of our customers. Not only did we get up to speed, we had one of our consultants become ACA federal, certified by the federal government, right? And it made sense for us because she was able to advise 20 different customers. But if you're a customer, to take one of your resources and have them learn all that, it's just very inefficient.
Right.
So I think that's a big part of it. In an ideal world, I think of it as almost like a utility, this dynamically allocated resource base that we're giving access to our customers. So let's talk about that a little bit. One of the places where we've seen this be very successful is customers that are running large projects, cloud migrations, global HR implementations. Sometimes we're not even the implementation partner, right? You talked about the fact that many of our customers use multiple Lawson partners, but it's helpful to have supplemental services along the way. And they can both be things, maybe there were tasks that were outlined at the beginning that ended up getting delayed or being more complex and you need just the supplemental staff to help with. Or maybe there are things that weren't anticipated that might delay the project if they're not addressed right away. And obviously procuring staff is a hard thing to do in general, right? Even through staffing firms. So having access has really helped those customers to have someone just come in and help out with a very specific targeted niche.
Think about a big implementation where maybe as a customer you anticipated having 1,000 or 2,000 hours of development work, customizations, flow development, and maybe it turns out that number has grown a little bit higher.
You just don't have the bandwidth.
You just don't have the bandwidth, and it's not feasible to bring on an employee in time to complete that project on time.
And get them up to speed and get them access. I think the other side of this is also small projects, right? So one of the things that's unique about our managed service offering is that we include what we call small projects in it. And general rule of thumb is anything under 100 hours. That could be like a RAD deployment, for example. We'll do as part of this managed services. Now, we'll talk a little bit about how that gets triaged and managed so there's an expectation. But yeah, basically value add. Most companies have this target list of things that they're trying to do that might have access to the expertise, and they're smaller, so it's a lot of work to go engage a company just for that. But we're already there, and we're able to do it. The reason that we don't do it like when it gets too high is because once you get into a bigger project, if you're doing an upgrade, then you need to scope that out very specifically and have some delineations and roles and responsibilities. So we do have our limits, but anything within reason, we'll do as part of this. The other thing that I think is very beneficial is easy access to specialized skills. So let's say that I have a security issue. And within an organization, I probably would have someone that is responsible for knowing loss of security. They could go troubleshoot it and fix it. Some of our customers use us as an extension, and we're able to act in the same way because we're already have VPN access. We're already familiar with your security. There's already a contact between the system administrator or the system business owner and maybe a person working on security. Here we have a picture of Dan Ferruggio, who got married on Saturday. Congratulations, Dan. It's just very efficient. Same thing with a flow. And sometimes we can even do some things that say you would log a ticket with Infor, right? And yes, we understand it's covered within Infor Extreme, but if it takes them 2 weeks to turn it around and we can fix it right away.
Follow-up maybe.
Yeah, sometimes it's just worth having that easy. Hey, my job's hung up and I don't know why, and every time this user runs it, it crashes. I think it's a security issue. Maybe we could look at that.
Maybe we can, and maybe it's something we've seen before.
Totally. I think another place where we can add a lot of value, and this is really getting into the overall strategic, is in roadmap and project planning. I mean, I think one of the things that we have is a view into the entire space. Lots of customers doing lots of projects.
Some more progressive than others.
Some way more progressive than others.
We have the opportunity to work with some customers that are more on the cutting edge. And they're blazing a path, and our other customers are able to take advantage of that.
We had two of the first successful cloud migrations some time ago. So I think it also it has a sort of that's the macro, and sort of a final level too is like, let's say I'm looking to deploy employee self-service. I haven't deployed it in my organization, right? But I don't know what I don't know, and what I'd like to understand as a customer is what functionality is going to make sense for my company. What might be, if I'm rolling it out in phases, what that might look like, and what's the effort and timeline going to be involved internally and externally, right? I just need access to someone that can advise me from a planning perspective, right? And that's something that we offer within our managed services. I mean, that might be a 2-hour conversation with Melissa Olson, who, if you've seen this webinar, so you might have met, our ACM practice manager, talking you through different approaches, different people have done, what the impact is, what the limitations are. It's just not even loss and break fix, it's just knowledge, right?
It's listening to your goals and your business needs and helping you craft an approach for getting there.
And I think another place is some things that we don't even think of as being Lawson specific. They're not Lawson projects. They're things that can be huge value adds. One of the things I keep coming back to is if an organization has a new materials manager, new materials director, the value of having 2 to 3 days of Lawson training in terms of ramping up that resource both on the system that the organization is running as well as the processes the organization is supposed to run, and it doesn't fall on your staff, and it doesn't fall on staff that not only has other duties but might have limited access within the system. It falls on someone that knows it. I think there's a lot of value in those things that there's an access to do otherwise today, because how much does your internal training team know about your Lawson system?
Think about it's hard to bring on a new employee, and they do take a lot of your time right in the beginning. I mean, bringing in RPI to do that training means that new resource is able to learn independent of your time, as well as that they're not just learning the processes that have been put in place in your organization, but they're learning best practices. They're learning the right way to do it.
Yes, and I just want to add that I think this is applicable to cloud customers. This is applicable to customers that have system administrators. This isn't a replacement of IT. This is sort of a broader picture Lawson support and extension. And here we just have some of the many examples of areas where we have a very niche expertise that we can help with.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question, Mr. Stout. If I'm an on-demand customer, how do I engage these services with RPI?
Oh, well, it's a pretty simple process. First, you would initiate contact with RPI. And we have a couple of different avenues for that. We have a web-based ticketing system, but we don't make that the mandatory point of contact for our customers.
We don't hide behind it.
We don't hide behind a ticketing system because you're already used to working with the project members assigned to your service agreement. So you might know who the right people are already. You can always give them a call their office line, their cell phone, hit them up on IM or send them an email. And you know that no matter which way that you initiate contact, we're going to make sure that request gets immediately entered into our system so it's tracked along the way.
And if I'm a character, I can use the thought box too, right? And
yes.
A lot of our customers have our cell phone numbers, direct access. I think it's an important thing a true customer service organization is, how can I help? You know?
Chip got a call at midnight last night, and he woke up and put in a patch.
I love Chip.
So once we've heard what the customer's request is, we're going to triage that request. And the things that we're going to be looking at right away are, what kind of request is this? Is this a
patch at midnight?
Right. Is this a patch at midnight? Is this a problem with the system? Is this a break fix style problem? Or is this maybe an enhancement request, or even maybe a mini project? So we can make sure that we're moving in the right direction on this request.
And also functional, technical, what area, right resource.
Absolutely. And that's where we come to our next step in the process, where we're going to assign the right person for the job. I mean, sometimes when someone's having an issue with Lawson, it could be hard to tell first whether that's a functional problem or a technical problem, right?
Totally true.
So it might take a few investigatory questions just to narrow that down. And we'll make sure we get the right person assigned, be that a technical person or someone with some specific functional knowledge.
And then most importantly,
we're going to track it all in our ticketing system, so our customer has visibility into what all their requests are. Where are these managed services being allocated towards? And obviously, this covers our SLA tracking as well.
Yep. Now, Mr. Stout, let me ask you, do I get dedicated resources?
Well, yeah, you do, because, everybody wants, you always want to go where everybody knows your name, right?
So, I mean, obviously, our resources are being shared on multiple projects, and, they're not sitting there by the phone full time, and they take time off. Ferruggio is on his way to his honeymoon, so he will hopefully not be helping anybody with security over the next week and a half.
Yeah.
But
that's okay, because
that's okay.
we know that works hard. We put a plan in place.
And we assign a primary contact for every client, for technical services, and for each functional suite that they use, right? And the goal there is that there's a lot of efficiencies and value that get created in establishing relationships, which is a big part of our company. So maybe Chris Gordon has been working with your finance team, and folks know him, and he's familiar with your system. Maybe he's not the person that's specifically going to fix this issue or work on this project, but he's responsible for making sure that relationship gets maintained,
right.
The right person's assigned.
And he's keeping up on all of the requests that are coming in and understands the big picture.
Exactly. How does it work? It's very simple. It is not scope-based. I mean, I think that's the big thing is, if you've ever seen RPI's Managed Services contract, it's not really a contract, right? Because what we do is we look at this as all being consulting services, right? So it's an annual pre-planned amount of hours that we manage to, that include both the break fix and the smaller projects. It's not use it or lose it every month, right? We try to right size for our customers. There's some different protocols depending on the size in terms of who's the gatekeeper that can initiate what type of request.
Some of our customers would rather put us in a more of a level 2 situation where they have one person who is
triages internally,
and others have given us a contact list of functional super users or our larger group who can initiate a request directly.
Totally. And then in order to track that, we have, we do utilization reports. And there's a couple things. One is we want to show, what the time is being spent on. We want to track where the requests are coming from. And we want to sort of manage to that. It's like a budget, right? It's like you have this budgeted hours, which is super helpful if you need a 24-hour project done, that you don't have to go get it budgeted. But you can see any given month here, it's like it goes up and down what's getting used. And maybe if you've had a lot of usage, some of your projects we want to push into next year.
Sure.
Maybe you have a lot of hours, we want to take advantage of some of that stuff that's in your whiteboard on your roadmap, and we want to start doing it.
Can we automate some manual processes that would be a good candidate? I mean, when's the right time to build out and test this new interface you've been thinking about?
The reality of RPI is we do all the break fix because that's part of our business.
Yes.
But what we like to do is the process improvement.
Yeah,
everybody
that's why
likes
we're
to
all
do
here.
the value add. So, all right, that's all we got for today. We'll certainly take any questions. Take a minute here to look at them, and again, this is our contact info. You can call me, reach out to Stout.
Yeah.
All right, must be a perfect presentation, no questions. Once again, my name is Keith Whalen. This is Richard Stout. Thanks for watching this webinar today. We hope you found it informative. Please feel free to share once we have it posted with your colleagues, and we welcome feedback. Feedback is critical to us. We want to make sure that these are value add and that we're targeting what the Lawson community is looking for. You can subscribe on our YouTube channel, and you can like us on LinkedIn and Twitter. And if you're not receiving these invitations and would like to, you can go to www.rpic.com/webinars and just sign up right there. Once again, thanks for watching. See you next time. RPI, the right team, right solutions.
At the right time.
At the right time. I said right time, right place. Thank you.